my Dutch accountant said, "You should sell. You'll never have to work again." And I told my accountant, I really like working. It was just really hard for us to figure out which features people should pay for. In the beginning, we said, oh, features if you're a large company. We have people from all kinds of cultures, from all kinds of ethnicities, just by default. Welcome. I'm Sid Sijbrandij, and I feel really happy that I get a chance today to talk about GitLab, our company, but also about all remote work, which I think is the future of work. First, a little bit about GitLab. GitLab is a single application for the entire Devops Lifecycle. So we help people go from planning to do something to making it happen in software, packaging that up, sending it out to the world, and monitoring and securing what you just deployed. And it started in 2011 when my co-founder Dimitri needed something like GitLab, but his company wouldn't give him any money to buy something. And he thought to himself, how hard can it be? I'll just make it myself. He was in the Ukraine at the time, and he started programming it. And I saw it only a year later. I was in the Netherlands at the time, and by the time I saw it, 300 people had contributed back to the project. The project was open source, and our mission is everyone can contribute, and that happened. And I thought, that's amazing, so I emailed him, hey, I'm going to start a company around this. Hope you don't mind. And he was like, no, go for it. And then a year later, 2013, he tweeted out to the world, I want to work on GitLab full-time. And the reason was, his wife explained when I hired him, I said, I hope you're okay with me hiring Dimitri and him having to work more on GitLab. And she said, no, I'm really happy because he was already working a lot at GitLab. Now at least he can quit his day job, so he doesn't have to have 2 jobs. And we got in business together, but it really feels like the start of GitLab. The company was in 2015 when we joined Y Combinator. Y Combinator is an incubator here. Airbnb, Stripe went through that program, and that opened our eyes to the possibilities that are there. A bit about the company and what we do. So when we talk about the entire DevOps lifecycle, it's all the way from portfolio management, what you want to make, to issue tracking, to creating that, putting that under version control, verifying that everything still works, packaging everything up, releasing that out to the world, monitoring what you've released, whether that works, whether customers are happy, and then making sure it's all secure. And normally companies would need 9 different products to do this. In many companies that we talk to, there's more than 9, because not everyone is using the same set. So there's 30 different ones. And those all have to be integrated. And if every company of more than 1,000 employees probably has between 20 and 60 people just trying to keep this whole heap of applications together, because it's a lot of work. And that's the problem GitLab solves. GitLab puts it all in a single application. So you're all on exactly the same page. You're in the same application, you see the same thing as someone else. And that helps because you no longer have this passing the baton from team to team. It's not like, hey, I'm done with the developing. Let the security people have the look. And then I'm done with the security, let the QA people have a look. And I'm done with that, let the packaging people package it up. And I'm done with that, let's send it to release. I'm done with that. Now it's up to the monitoring people. When you do that, when you have all these different teams working in different applications, you have all these handoff moments, and those add time. And those create a very long cycle. It takes a while to get stuff out the door. Some companies we talk to, they release software 2 times every year. In order to go faster from planning to do something and getting it out to market, getting it in the hands of your customers, you need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that you don't have to wait for the handoff, but that you can start immediately. And that's the change that GitLab brings. It's not that we do something that's not available anywhere else, it's that we bring everything together, so you don't have to wait. We started with just DevOps, developers. And later we added more operations, then we added security people. And by now, we realized that basically every company is turning into a software company. And they all need a really efficient life cycle in order to go faster than their competitors. In the 4 years since, or 3 years, since 2015, since Y Combinator, we've grown from 9 people in April 15 to 375 team members now. And I think the remarkable thing is that they're across 46 countries. We have people all over the world working full-time on GitLab. It's also been amazing to see how we could grow as an open source project. By putting our source code out there for making a lot of the functionality free to use, people were able to adopt it. And it's gained hundreds of thousands of organizations are using GitLab. We make money by catering to the buyers. If you're an individual contributor, if you're a developer, like Dimitri was and now is, you don't have to pay for anything in GitLab. But the things that matter more to managers, to directors, to executives, that's the stuff we charge for. It's called an open core model. Most of it open source, and then some features cordoned off. And it took us a while to get there. In the beginning, we tried donations. Dimitri used to call it ice cream money, because it was about $7 a month, and he and his wife would get ice cream for it every month. Then we started with soliciting more, and 1 month we got to $1,000. But that wasn't enough to pay for me and Dimitri's cost. So then we charged for support, and we sold support contracts. And people signed up, and it was great. And then we improved the application to the point that they didn't need support anymore. And guess what? They canceled. After a year of not needing support, they canceled the next year. So that didn't work. Then we tried paid development. We said, hey, if you want a new feature in GitLab, and if you're an entrepreneur, and most of you are, you know people always want more features. If you want them, you can pay for them. It was really, really hard. There were 2 big problems. First of all, when there were multiple people wanting the same feature, and we said, hey, guess what? You're lucky. There's another company that wants the same. You only have to pay half now. Instead of saying, wow, that's great. I already committed $10,000. Now I only have to pay $5,000. They all went silent on us. They were like, well, let the other company pay for it. So you have this kind of waiting game. The other problem was companies, it's really hard for them to pay for development. They came to us and said, yeah, I can pay you for development, but we also have programmers, so we'll contribute. Yeah, they're Java programmers and they know nothing about GitLab, but yeah, we'll help. It was really hard to get those things through purchasing. They had a preferred agreement with some other company. It didn't work. Paying for software, if you get the opportunity, it's great. People are very used to paying for software. So it's a much easier purchasing process, and it has extremely high margins. You don't need to make a lot of costs. Our margins are more than 90%, and that really helps you grow a company fast. it was just really hard for us to figure out which features people should pay for. In the beginning, we said, oh, features if you're a large company. Yeah, what is a large company? And there wasn't a feature that large companies wanted, but small companies didn't want. This marketing to the buyer really helped. The person controlling most of the budget. Those features, what they care about, that's what we charge for. For example, you can get a dashboard in GitLab, see all the security vulnerabilities you're vulnerable to throughout your organization. That is something that the individual developer doesn't care about, but the buyer cares about very much. I think another thing I'm really, really proud of is our contributors. We got over 2,000 contributors by now who contributed code to the product. So when you buy GitLab, you don't buy what we made. You buy the best practices of over 100,000 organizations that are using it. And if they're missing a best practice, they'll add it to the product. Also proud that we're the 4th fastest growing software company in the US. And I didn't expect that when we went to Y Combinator. In 2014, we got an offer from a competing software company for $10 million. And the whole company was owned by me and Dimitri at the time, and it was a lot of money to us. And my Dutch accountant said, you should sell. You'll never have to work again. And I told my accountant, I really like working. And we had the feeling there could be more. And we thought maybe we go to Y Combinator and we'll have a company with 50 people. And going to Silicon Valley really helped us because you're a product of your surroundings. And at Y Combinator, we came in and there were 113 companies that got accepted into the program. It was a room full of people, and I said, 3 companies here will be a $1 billion plus company. If we knew which ones, there would be 3 companies here. But we don't, and we're going to help each and every one of you. And they do. They don't try to make a cut early because it's very hard to tell. But it made us realize that you don't come to Silicon Valley to have a small company. We should have stayed home if that was the goal. It's amazing that some of the really large companies on this slide, they started with using GitLab even when it was me and Dimitri and less than 10 other people just trying to clobber something together. And it wasn't perfect, it wasn't ideal, but it was open source. And some companies understand that they don't want the lock-in that comes with proprietary software, and they want to be able to contribute back. And I think it's a really powerful thing. And if you run a proprietary software company, maybe don't make your code open source, but make your issue tracker open source. All of the issues, all of the feature proposals for GitLab, and all of the problems people have are open. It's 10,000 of them. And in there, our salespeople leave comments like, hey, and they have to anonymize it. So, hey, a potential customer with 300 seats is interested in this feature. Their use case is that they would be much better able to deploy more often if we have this extra check built in. And a link to our CRM, so you can find what you have to look into. That link is only accessible by us, but all the other comments are there, and very frequently our customers join that issue because they can see how we're thinking about it, what we're making, and they say, no, you're building the wrong thing. We had a developer at GitLab and says, who is this person? I didn't see this person on the team page. And the person was giving them very detailed instructions on how to make what they were making. We're like, that person doesn't work for the company. Like, that is someone from the wider community. We don't know them either. And you don't have to listen to them, but if what they say is good, please do. So we have a leadership team. I must say the leadership team is a bit Bay Area heavy. We tend to find that people with the most experience tend to come from this region. But they all work from a different location. We don't have an office. There's no part where we congregate. So we're all remote. And our mission is everyone can contribute. And I think that implies that you should be able to contribute from almost anywhere in the world. If you look at our team map, there's a person almost everywhere. Now there's only one person in the center of Russia, so we're hiring there just to make it a bit more. But it's amazing to see that for 90%, 95% of the people in the world that want to join our company because they read about us, because they like what they see, they're able to sign up and join us. And I think that creates such a different atmosphere in your company when the people that are there because they found it and they really wanted to be there. I want to talk a bit about this all remote, this distributed way of working, because I think it gives us an unfair advantage. It gives us a lot of speed. We scaled really fast, and even this year we'll end at 400 people. Next year we'll likely be at 800 people. And so being able to recruit great people is very elementary. And if you have to fish from the same pool as all the other companies in the same city, that is very hard. So being able to recruit from everywhere allows us to meet those goals. And we don't have to pay for people to move. We don't have to go to an immigration procedure. It saves a lot of time between signing the contract and having them start. It's great for diversity. We have people from all kinds of cultures, from all kinds of ethnicities, just by default, not because we don't have to try hard for it. It comes because we recruit from anywhere. And the last thing is, it allows us to kind of zoom in on the people we want to recruit, and wherever we find them, we can recruit them. Not done yet. By the way, they told me I can't take any questions, but if you have a question, just shout it out real loud. I think when you're able to recruit everywhere, I told you about the advantage it gives, because automatically you're going to go get a more diverse set if you hire from more cities and countries. We also tend to be all about results. So when you interview with us as a developer, we don't have this whiteboarding session for you. We don't send you this questionnaire by a recruiter who doesn't understand what you do. We have those steps too, but our recruiters are pretty good. But the most essential test is you actually contribute to the product. So what you're going to do is what everyone else in the company does and what those 2,000 people outside the company did. They actually make a contribution to the product. That's our final test of whether you should work here. It's the actual work you're going to do. And I think that is the most honest assessment of whether a person is a fit. Not which university they study, not whether you want to hang out at an airport with them. It's called the airport test. It's ridiculous. But whether they can do the work. And we'll assess that work. Not the person, but it should be about the work. And we think that a diverse workforce really helps. The more ideas we have, the more we have to select from. And the better the final result. This is a slide about diversity, but we also put it in our leadership practices. At GitLab, we want to combine the best aspects of hierarchical leadership and of consensus leadership. And I think a lot of companies struggle with this. They think it's a binary skill. They have to be either hierarchical, which is great because you can make decisions really fast, or they have to be consensus-driven, which is great because you get a lot more input. We combine them because there's two stages to making a decision. First, you gather data, and then you make a decision. So in the data gathering stage, everyone can contribute. If you look at our issue trackers, even our security team, most of their issues are open. You can talk, you can contribute your ideas. So everyone can contribute. But then when you have to make a decision, it's hierarchical. Even better, it's the directly responsible individual. The person who has to do the work makes the decision. And you don't have to convince everyone who left an idea. It's nice if you acknowledge the idea, say, oh, thanks for contributing, or giving a thumbs up. You don't have to listen to it, you don't have to defend it. Because you find in consensus companies that people are reluctant to open up. Because when other people know that there's a decision to be had, they weigh in, and now they have to convince all those people. So in consensus companies, you'll find lots of projects flying under the radar. And under the radar means not getting all the input. At hierarchical companies, the failure mode is obvious as well. They don't get all the data because no one wants to contribute because nobody's open to it. So combine those two things by splitting it in data gathering and decision making. Remote work is also great for us. I think we have more team members now than we would be able to have without remote work. If we would be all located in San Francisco, the cost would approximately be twice as much as they are now. And that's a saving on offices. When you come work at GitLab, you don't have to necessarily work from home. If you want to work for an office, we'll pay for it. And a lot of people that join are a bit hesitant, so they have an office, and then after a few months, their family gets the hang of it, and they move back. But there's no pressure. If you want to have an office for all your time at GitLab, you can get it. But most people are able to do without. And when they have an office, it's in their own neighborhood. It tends to be more affordable. There's lower wages. We pay market rate. We pay a good market rate in San Francisco, but also a market rate anywhere else in the world. And that reduces our costs because San Francisco wages are the highest in the world. I also think there's better productivity. There's no open office. There's nobody tapping you on the shoulder. You can manage your interruptions. You can just turn them off. And you know you'll have that allotment of time, and you're not going to be interrupted. And that really helps if you have to do a complicated task. I think there's better retention. We've had a lot of people that were able to move with their partner. Their partner got a new job, or they got a scholarship, or they got a medical position somewhere, and they could move with them. And it didn't matter where GitLab was. They could stay working. They could take care of their parents. Whatever it is, they don't have to leave the company. I think it's the future. When I talk to the most recent Y Combinator batch, there's more and more companies becoming all remote. And I think remote scales really well. If you're just with 9 people like we were when we went to Y Combinator, by all means do what we did and go all be together. I'm not sure I recommend being all together in the same house and working and living there all together. That was pretty intense, but it makes sense to be in the same space. However, there's less benefits to being on the same floor. And there's even less benefits to being in the same building. And there's even less benefits to all being in the same city. At some point, it doesn't scale. You don't get the same benefits anymore. What we try to do is organize a lot of the things that happen organically if you're in a small group so that they would scale. And I think it's going to be something that more companies will embrace. If you don't do it for the scaling or for the financial benefits or for the benefits for your company, do it for the environment. A commute is just a giant waste of resources. And it's not just a car. It's also people taking care of other people. People at GitLab say, I have more time with my kids. I used to not have breakfast with them. I used to not have dinner with them because I would be stuck in traffic. Now they can be there. And if a kid needs to stay home during the day, they can be there. They don't have to take a day off of work. They can combine the two things. You're welcome to take a day off of work. We have a no ask, do tell vacation policy, but there's more flexibility. And if you don't have any kids, lots of people at our company use it to travel. We have a travel stipend. They go travel, see team members around the world. Or they just go to nice locations and work from there. I think when I live in San Francisco. I live opposite a big tower in Soma, and that business district is like totally deserted at night. And it doesn't feel like a real city. A real city should have a mix of different things. I don't get the business district or central business district. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's the future. I do think there will always be work and meetings, but I don't think trucking everyone in the morning, trucking everyone out in the evening is the way that our society should look like. I also think not having a commute makes you a much healthier person. Thank you. There's data that shows that the length of your commute is very correlated with the divorce rate. The longer your commute, the less likely you are to stay with your partner. And it makes sense. You get 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work, there's 8 hours left. If you're going to use 2 hours for a commute, that is the time you would otherwise have for your partner. But it's not very intuitive to do remote. You have to facilitate a lot of things that would happen organically at a company that was smaller and co-located. So we do some things that are not intuitive, and I'm going to tell you about them. It's also a bit of an HR challenge. We got 46 countries, 46 different legal systems, and the legal systems are not very familiar with this yet. We're making it work, but it's a lot of extra time and effort. If you're remote, the informal communication doesn't happen automatically. So you got to facilitate that. You got to organize the informal communication. And we do a couple of things. We have a daily team call, and it's 5 minutes of announcements and then 20 minutes of people talking about their life outside of work. And it can be anything. What they had for dinner yesterday, a project they've been working on, a loss they had in the family, a friend who got sick. Almost anything goes. And it's really remarkable how much of a connection that creates. It creates a much better connection than talking with each other about the weather or sports. It's personal stories. And sometimes we laugh together, and sometimes we cry a bit together. We also have a group conversation every single day. It's a maximum of 10 minutes of presentation from a certain group at the company. So it's about sales or about a certain product team. It's all about what they did in the last month or two. But it's called conversation because that's the aim. The presentation is just there to get questions, to start a conversation about things. We not had them for a while, and people said, I don't know what's up anymore. I don't have a feel for what's going on in the company. So that's what you get. You get a feel for what's going on at the company. And if you look at our YouTube channel, you'll find many of them. Another thing we do is AMAs, or office hours. It's a leader there. It's a Zoom call. You log in, you ask a question. It's very low barrier. Just make yourself available. Another thing we do is one-on-ones, 101s. So 101s is for new people that join the company. They can ask questions to the leaders of various fields. And if a thing is asked about and it's not in our handbook somewhere yet, we also document it right there on the spot. A very great thing that was suggested by one of our Israeli employees is virtual coffee breaks. All our meetings are highly structured. Like if you invite people for a meeting about a certain subject and there's not like a Google Doc right there to take notes, that's a problem. However, we also do the opposite. You can just sign up to have a half-an-hour chat with someone else, and that's totally fine. So you can talk about work, but also about things outside of work. Already mentioned the travel budget. We'll pay you to visit other team members. And we do a summit, and we go to great places. The last one was in Cape Town, South Africa. That's where this picture is from. Another thing is writing things down. When you start at a new company, you have 100 questions. At GitLab, 90 of them will be answered in the handbook. So what people report that started us is, everyone's so nice. Everyone really takes my questions seriously. Yes, that's because you didn't ask the other 91. You just have 10 left, so people have more time for you. There's over 1,000 pages that describe every one of our processes. And if you like it, it's Creative Commons, so you can just copy it and use it yourself. People like the handbook, like they don't have to ask. You can point people to a certain page that explains it. It also makes it easier to change things. So if you want to change something, you don't send an email, you don't send a presentation, you change it in the handbook and send the changes you share those with the rest of the company. And it also helps with diversity. You don't have to ask about our diversity policies. You don't have to expose anything you don't want to expose. You can just get that. So I love to get questions. I can't take them here, but I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle's there. I'd love to talk with you. And I have a policy that if you want to talk with me, let's do a broadcasted meeting, live stream to YouTube, so that other people can benefit, and I don't have to answer the same question multiple times, although I don't mind too much. But my door is open, and if you want to have that, feel free, just hit me up on Twitter. Thanks so much for your attention. Really enjoyed it.